Welcome to the Awaken Heart Podcast. I'm your host, Nancy Walters. Get ready to create magic and miracles as you lean into your heart's desires. I believe not only does the heart want what it wants, but it knows. This show is a weekly deep dive into what it means to live from an awakened heart. I'll be sharing inspiring stories and real conversations with people just like you, who have turned the ordinary into the extraordinary. My mission is to show you how you too can be connected and heart-centered in every area of your life. Your journey to aligning with more love, more joy, and your wildest dreams come true starts now. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Awaken Heart Podcast. I'm your host, Nancy Walters. Today, I'm going to share with you part 3 of my ayahuasca experience, since I've had a couple weeks to let the medicine settle in and have a little bit of integration since the experience. And as I have mentioned before, there's time that it integrates. Like, that's just as important as the ceremony itself, even more so. So I'm in the middle of integration myself right now, but I feel I'm ready to start talking about what happened. And it wasn't anything that I could have ever expected, as you will hear in the following episode. Here we go. The full week before I actually was to do the medicine, I was just excited. I was in love with life. I was really feeling the love from the last experience and the mama ayahuasca and all that stuff. And then the week of, man, a lot of stuff comes up before, because there's stuff that needs to come up in order to be transformed during the ceremony. So that week was like a lot of emotional stuff that just came out of nowhere. And there was also a big lunar event. I think it was a partial lunar eclipse that was happening, as well as a full moon that week. So there's a lot more intensive energy that I was feeling even before actually partaking in the ceremony. So what happens is a lot of stuff, like I said, not particularly pretty or comfortable, comes up. So I wasn't in that great of a space. Driving out there, I was really had a lot of anxiety, and I felt like I was going to bust out of my skin with some things that were coming up personally. And this time it was only about an hour away from where I live. So there was this beautiful property, and we all arrived around 3:00, which gave us time to settle in, to meet everybody, to get set up in our bedrooms with our little roommates, if we had one, that we would be sharing for the next 2 nights. And we also had time to go over to the yurt and set up our bedding for the night. They had sleeping pads, and they had it pretty well set up with blankets and a sleeping pad and some pillows. And then I brought extra blankets and my own pillows. So I got that all set up. And then we went back to the house, all of us, and we gathered for a meeting to introduce ourselves and to tell what led us to being there and what we hope to get out of it. And then also we were explained like what was to happen during the ceremony, what to look out for, how it's a safe container, how to ride out the experience, however the best way possible, and how our facilitators were there to help us through the healing, and they were there for us at all times. So we had the same 2 facilitators, shamans, and their girlfriends were there as well. And the first ceremony, one of them, she had just come back from Peru, and she did Palo Santo with us. That was her first time back after spending a period of time in Peru. And then the other one had his girlfriend there as well. So there were 4 of them that were going to hold space for the other 10 of us that were partaking in the ceremony. Now, they as well do the ayahuasca, and they're able to balance between both worlds. I don't know how they do it. God bless them. Like, they're trained with the medicine, and to be able to hold space for all of us and to partake in our healing and really intuitively know what each of us needs and what is needed throughout the night. After that, we were given time on our own, and And just before their ceremony, we're told to stop drinking water because we want the medicine to be able to go into a clear vessel. And that is one of the reasons why we prepare our bodies with a diet a couple weeks leading up to the ceremony. When it came time, some people gathered before to get sananga, and I partook in that the second night, so I'll go into that more when I talk about the second night. So they went there a little early before the ceremony started, and then they administered rapé, which I participated in. So rapé is a form of a tobacco snuff. And tobacco is very sacred in a shamanic medicine, and it's used as a tool. They administer these things to prepare yourself for the ceremony. It's actually supposed to enhance the ceremony and give you a bigger sense of calm leading into actually doing ayahuasca. It's not sniffed, it's not snorted or inhaled. Instead, it is administered. They have this tool. It's blown into the nostril. So it's a special blowpipe called, I don't know how to say it, or TP or whatever. It's a special pipe, and it's quite forceful, and it's not pleasant, and it's pretty shocking. So I did this one, and I was nervous about it, but I'm like, hey, I'm here. I might as well try something new. And I was feeling a little bit anxious. So if this could help calm and soothe me before I actually drank that medicine, well, great. The way it's administered, it is with 2 people. So it's a 2-person pipe. Typically, the rapé is blown high up into the nostrils with a pipe made from bamboo or bone. The intense blow immediately focuses the mind, stops the chattering, and opens the entire mind space for your intentions. And it's supposed to help release emotional, physical, and spiritual illnesses, eases negativity and confusion, which helps enable someone to have a thorough grounding of the mind. Shamans use rapé to realign with their energy channels and with their highest self, and to intensify their connections with the world and the universe. In addition, rapé paves the way for detoxifying the body and cleans out all excess mucus, toxins, and bacteria. Some other interesting facts about rapé is because it contains nicotine, it increases the brain flow and affects the release of several stimulatory neurotransmitters, such as epinephrine and dopamine. It heightens your focus, presence, and intuition, opening up the body to higher communication and holistic thinking and understanding. So rapé, which is really interesting, is it has a reputation for decalcifying the pineal gland, which is involved in melatonin secretion, circadian time perception, and the function of the immune system. This time in the ceremonial space, I was like the 4th one, whereas the last time I was the last person to receive any medicine or any administration of anything. And this time I was the 4th person. So when one of the shamans was kneeled in front of the person before me, so what they do is they pour it into the hand, the snuff, and then they portion it out and then load it in the pipe. It's a V-shaped bamboo or bone pipe, and it is then forcefully blown up into the nostril of the receiver and then immediately followed by the next nostril. Often the person who is blowing needs to be an experienced tribe member or experienced shamanic leader. He sends his intention and spirit to the person inhaling, which affords a strong mind and clear focus, which is the essence of this blowing ritual. And it doesn't depend on the strength of your blowing, but whether you can share yourself while doing it and thereby empowering the receiver. These blowing rituals are of great importance in the shamanic tradition, which perceives the healing energy of breath, also known as saplata, which means blowing healing energy, as a major tool for healing. So with that, the person next to me, it's his turn. And of course, I'm nervous and I'm watching him out of the corner of my eye. And I see him put it into his nostril and he blows and he whips his head back and tears start going down his eyes. And he's like breathing really heavy. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't do this. I'm nervous. And then he did the other one and his head got knocked back and more tears went down his eyes and he had to like center himself and breathe. And now it was my turn. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know if I want to do that. I'm like, just give me a tiny bit. So he did a smaller portion. He poured it into his hands and then he put it into the pipe. And then I let it into my nostril and he blew it in. And what it feels like is like a brain freeze. Like when we used to drink those Slurpees, those Frosties, and you take too cold of a sip and it freezes like half of your brain. That's what it felt like. So it's like a sharp pain like that, and then it subsides. So then we did the other nostril and, more brain freeze. It wasn't that bad. I was just more anticipating like more pain. So that made me more scared than anything, but it wasn't that bad. And then I did feel a calmness after. So I didn't have as much anxious thought. It wasn't going 100 miles an hour, and I wasn't as nervous about doing the ceremony after doing the rapé. Okay, so that took a little while to go around the room, and then it was finally time for the ceremony. Oh my God, I was so nervous. Even though I've done it before, have zero idea what to expect. Absolutely, we're going into the absolute unknown. And all I always want is it to be gentle with me. I don't want to be shown something that's like horrifying, that's going to scar me for life. Like I know people that have become vegetarians because they've been shown like slaughterhouses and animal suffering, and that's like, ooh, I'd be scarred for life, but transformed. Also, I would never eat meat again. Again, the same preparation and the same ceremony, praying over the medicine and preparing the space, blowing Florida water, blowing tobacco, and we all brought our offerings up to put on the altar to get charged during the 2 nights of ceremony. So I brought 2 bracelets that I have been wearing consistently for like stress and anxiety. There's a bloodstone, and I forgot the ormalite. I forgot the name of the one, but it's for that. And then I brought a stone. It's a soulmate stone. So I put that in the middle of my bracelets. So each person went up one by one and got their medicine, prayed over it, drank it down, and then went and sat back down. And then it was my turn. Nervous again, as usual. Knelt down, held it to me, and just said, please be gentle with me. Be gentle with me. I surrender. I surrender. And I drank it. That sweet, thick carburetor oil concoction once again. And I sat down, rinsed my mouth out, made sure not to swallow any water, and then spit it in the bucket and sat there and waited. Once everyone had taken their medicine and taken their turn, we are all sitting there because you wait for the medicine to start working. The candle got blown out and we were told to have a beautiful evening. And we all sat there, shadows in the darkness, sitting up and waiting. Since I was one of the first ones to partake, it hit me pretty quick. It came on pretty quick. I felt it and I laid down. And the music started and the singing started, and I started feeling the geometric shape started to appear, and the cartoon-like show was driving behind my eyes. All the colors, there was flashes of stars in the sky, and then all of a sudden I was gripped by fear. I started freaking out. There was total panic that came over me. I felt very claustrophobic. I panicked. I sat up and I'm thinking, oh my God, I can't go through this. I'm going to suffocate. I literally sat up, threw off my covers in the throes of like ayahuasca just hitting. I was ready to yell help. And I thought of, having one of the shamans or facilitators come in and walk me outside. But what can I do? Like literally, it is in the beginning and there's nothing more that they could have done except talk to me, lay me back down and calm me down. So instead of going through all that, I talked myself down, said that I'm okay, I'm here, this is just part of it. There's nothing to worry about. You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. So I had to self-soothe myself out of the claustrophobic nightmare that I was in at that point, and I laid back down and I looked down at my body and I was there and I was fine. So I talked myself out of that, and I had to trust that I'm getting exactly what I needed, even if there's no huge vision or reveal. So I just saw a lot of shapes and geometric patterns and such. So there wasn't anything huge that was happening. When the second call came for the second cup, I at first thought, okay, I do need this, but how am I going to sit up to get it? And I'm like, no, that's okay. I don't need it. But then I'm like, okay, yes, I do, because I'm not feeling it as much as I think I should. And, if I'm even thinking this, I should go up there and do it. So I went up there for the second cup and I said, just give me a small bit, because I couldn't imagine doing a full cup of it. And I didn't know what my stomach would do. So I did a tiny bit, and then I sat down and I waited, and then I laid down. And then I could feel the medicine working with the medicine, or I could feel the music working with the medicine. And it's interesting because when the music stops or the singing stops, everything kind of becomes calm. When that second call for the cup happens, you hear everyone going up one by one by one by one. And it's kind of like there's like this calmness. But as soon as the singing starts again, and the music and the rattles and all that, it's like it works with the medicine. Everything starts driving around again. And then at one point, Katie started singing. She's got the most beautiful angelic voice, like literally, like there was angels singing. So that was new to my experience this time, because there were no women singing before. That female voice really added a lot to it. It was like being wrapped in mother love and divine feminine energy, divine femininity, being wrapped up and embraced by it. It was absolutely beautiful. And it's like she was gifted, like literally gifted, like divine and divinity was flowing right through her and out to us. I had a few visions. I had visions of old lovers, like people that I haven't even thought of in a very long time, like random people that I had been with throughout my early 30s into my early 40s, some experiences, some flashes of them. I kept having visions of my living room at night. It was weird. Like my living room where I'm living now, a lot of kind of sadness, cold. My place could be very cold. It kept going back to the visions of my living room. And then I was going to visit friends at nighttime, my sisters, my parents. I was standing over my mom because I knew she was in the hospital, and I was standing by her bedside, sending her lots of love at nighttime. She was sleeping. I was sending it to some friends. I was visiting them while they slept. And then I even saw myself in my room, buried under my covers while I was sleeping, and I was sending love to myself. I had a few quick insights and not enough to really grasp on. Like I'd get these insights and be like, and then I'd forget what they were immediately after. And I had a lot of awareness of the room. We're in the yurt, and there was a zipper. So every time someone stumbled out, this big zipper would go up and down, and like it made so much noise. I'm thinking in my head, okay, that's a bad idea. That needs to, you should really get a flap or something that keeps it closed without having to zip up and down. But, that's part of the experience. I had to like not be bothered by that. I had to keep myself from the distractions. There were a lot of distractions because people get up to go to the bathroom or they're walking outside. The zipper was one of them. People moaning. I don't know if anyone really threw up that night. So then I had other visions of Egypt and some galactic planetary experiences where I was on like another planet in another galaxy in another time. And then at the end, I had Mama. She appeared for like a brief moment, and she had said to me, Mama Ayahuasca, that I'm getting there, not quite ready yet. And I felt like I was clearing away for night 2 to prepare my body, mind, and spirit. I went through bouts of hot, being super hot, tossing off the blankets, to being freezing cold, like literally like freezing, like I was in the Arctic. I mean, the cold was different this time. It didn't make its way from my feet all the way up to my body to the top of my head like antifreeze, but it's like I had a side of my body and my face, and it was like I said, the Arctic. I also brought lavender and peppermint oils to keep me centered. So I would reach into my pocket to put a little lavender oil and breathe it in when I felt a little bit overwhelmed or the noises in the room were bringing me off balance. or if somebody, like I saw the person next to me that was sitting up, and I think he was having a little bit of a problem and he was throwing up a little bit into the bucket, but he was the quietest person in the room. Like, it's distracting. I can see that and that's happening, but man, I wouldn't even know that was happening until I opened my eyes, because on the other side of the room, there were people having problems. And nothing like night 2, which you'll hear about. I also felt a burning on the side of my face, spots where I put the oil. It felt like it was burning, like I put I put gasoline and then lit it on fire. So maybe it wasn't such a great idea. And it was such a beautiful ceremony. Again, all the beautiful singing, and then the venteada, which is my favorite part. At the end, I'm just totally exhausted. I'm laying there and my arms are over my head, and the ceremony was over, and people sit there for a while and then they just start getting up one by one and going back to the house. Well, I laid there for a couple hours after because I couldn't imagine getting up and let alone walking anywhere. I felt a lot of sadness. At the end, it was kind of heavy. It was just laying there, but I was emotionally wrenched. My body was heavy and there was some sadness. Like, why the F was I still single? Like, what the heck? That came up. Like, why am I still single? I'm 50. And then I laid there for a while contemplating all that. And I was one of the last ones there. I laid there well after. And then I went back to the house probably like an hour or 2 later. And before going up the house, I'm thinking, how am I going to get to the house? Help. How do I call for someone for help? I might not be able to get back there. And then when I finally felt ready, I did go back. And then I made some tea. There were some people gathered around the table talking about the night. And then I had stood up and I felt really nauseous. And I was going to make my way over to the living room and lay on the couch. And I don't know what happened. I stumbled back. It was almost like something pushed me back, and I totally stumbled without control backwards. And I fell to the ground almost like I was going to faint. And all of a sudden I saw people gathered around me. They're like, "Are you okay? What happened?" I'm like, "I don't know what happened. I'm okay. I don't know what happened." One of the shamans, one of our facilitators, he's amazing. He was about to leave to go to bed for the night, and he had me lay on the couch and he did some work over me. He's like, "She's not done. She's still working with you." So I laid down and he placed his hands over my stomach and around my abdomen, and he did some healing work to me. And it's so amazing how much better I felt afterward. And I am so impressed with the level of care that these guys give to all of us and to myself, and intuitively knowing what I need in the moment. And it's amazing that healing can be done through a person, through their energy, and through connecting with your spirit. So I felt much better after that. And then he also told me to, have my boundaries, and that if anyone wanted to talk to me about what happened, just tell them I just needed my own space, and to just not have to overshare or give too much until I was ready, to protect my energy. So then I went up to bed and I laid down and I went to sleep probably for 5 hours, a couple hours, slept till about 8 in the morning. And then we all gathered around for a big breakfast, and then we had a sharing circle. And then we had the day to explore and enjoy. And this has gone a little longer than I had intended. I think I'm going to break up and do the second night in another episode, because I wanted to keep these episodes brief. And then I'll go into night 2 of my second ayahuasca experience in the next episode. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Awaken Heart podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, share it with a friend. And if you haven't already, head on over to your favorite podcast app to subscribe, rate, and review. If you have any comments, questions, or feedback, you can reach me at theawakenheartpodcast.com.